You don't know this because you don't care, but on the 4th of September I have my NCT for my car. So, but I'm kind of feel like I'm throwing myself into the lap of the gods as to getting my car serviced, because I want to make sure that my car serviced. I don't have a regular mechanic, so I'm kind of looking in the phone book, or I go maybe to one guy or to another garage, and in the back of my head there's always that thought, how can I minimise, I won't say getting ripped off, because that's a lot, but how can I minimise the kind of unnecessary expenditure that's going to require? And I suppose what is given there is an assumption that there always is unnecessary expenditure. And on this very subject, I'm joined by Sinead Ryan, author of Sense and Sensibility, Tom Dunn's regular consumer champion. Sinead, it's a fortuitous thing that you're here today, because I was only thinking about it at the weekend.
Yeah.
That
I care about it.
Okay, fair enough. No, but I'm saying to general listeners,
I don't want you to be alone with this issue and this first world problem that you have.
It is very much a first world problem.
I had my own NCT done at the end of last year, so I know your pain. Now, listen, do you know what? If there's a recession on, stop the presses, and garages are, and indeed the motor trade generally, are suffering really badly, of course, at the moment. And garages are no different. And I found a garage last year, and there are plenty out there who'll guarantee the work. So, for instance, they'll say, we'll do your service, we'll make it NCT ready, and if you fail anything on the NCT, we'll fix it for free afterwards. Do you know? So in other words, we're putting our expertise up there. We're going to say, we know what we're doing. We're going to get your car through this, and if we don't,
that's a confidence booster, isn't it?
Yeah, I would ask a garage to do that, and they will. You know, you will.
Is that a relatively new thing, or is it something?
I think. Do you know what? I think all businesses are just looking for ways to add value for their customers now to try and get their business. It's so hard to come by. It's so hard to get money out of them, and don't, you know, car servicing is really important, and it's like any of those things we really don't like spending money on because it's not sexy, but it's really important because your car will run better, and in fact you'll end up using less fuel if your car is serviced properly. So don't be going for these mini kind of €90 services. If you're going for the NCT, get the proper one done. The NCT will last a couple of years anyway.
Yeah.
So
when you say don't go with mini, is not €90 seems like,
I know,
for a basic service seems like that's a decent amount of money.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of money, you know. And
so you're saying that we should spend more?
Well, if your purpose is to get through the NCT this year, I would go for the service that requires that, and that might mean more than just the filters changed and the kind of tyres looked at and that.
There's people who abide by the theory that don't get your car serviced before the NCT, get the NCT, and you know, chances are if you haven't got it serviced, you'll fail on something. But then let the NCT test determine what exactly the car needs. Then go to the garage and go, I want X, Y, and Z. Get that done, go in, boom, pay the extra, whatever it is, 25 quid.
That's one way of getting it done. But the thing about it is that the car service covers a certain set of things that are mandatory anyway that have to be done.
Yeah.
So if you do that and there's extra work to be done, then they might go and look for extra money just to do those bits and bobs that the NCT picked up. Okay. So I'd go the other way. I'd get it done in advance and get them to guarantee whatever comes out afterwards.
Very good.
And then they can check what's going to fall off or...
Oh yeah, someone, an NCT worker texted in to say, put the car into, get the NCT first, as the garage can only fix what it failed on. Just what I just said. That's if it does fail. So take the risk. Yeah. That's what an NCT worker says.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now you can have it either way, I suppose. But and let the NCT be your mechanic, your first diagnostician, maybe. Of what's
Do you know what that kind of implies in a weird way? It implies that we're not that concerned about the health of the car as such. All we care about is, will the car pass the NCT?
I know, yeah. And it's a shame, really, because, you know, people just see their car. Well, most people, I'm one of them, just sees my car as somewhere, literally something to get me from A to B. I've no interest in cars and I don't know a whole heap about them. I like my car just to be low on fuel, low emission, if possible, and cheap to run. And really beyond that, I'm not kind of overly concerned. And I must say, like most people now, the price of fuel is something that has just completely overshadowed pretty much all the decisions I'm making about driving. It's absolutely gone beyond the beyonds now at this stage, and there's no end to it, Fiona. You know,
drove down to Dingle this weekend and obviously had to put petrol in the car, and luckily enough, herself is obsessive about petrol prices. Like, she remembers. Like, I don't remember one petrol price from another. I'm like, I don't know, to the garage just outside Nina has that.
you're
but,
sure, you're
but she
sure.
does.
Yeah, you know,
And so
you
she's
have
going, no. There's, and I'm like,
No, I think people are getting
you look
much
at
more.
pumps.ie all day.
Yeah, well, pumps.ie is a great website actually because it's updated by the public. So if you're passing a station and you see it for such and such price, whatever, you can let them know and they'll put it up. And it is actually very, very good for that. But I got onto the AA because I was looking for some figures on this, and they were saying now for an ordinary car, say that does 12,000 miles a year, 30 miles to the gallon, that's 1,800 litres of fuel that you're going to use a year, 150 litres a month. Now in January 2009, the cost of that was €142.50. Today it's 255.
My God.
Now that's an absolutely massive increase.
That's 70%?
Of that, the tax take is over half. 54.5% of that goes just in taxes between excises and the so-called carbon tax, which is nonsense because it's not ring-fenced for anything eco-friendly. So the petrol actually costs 77 cents.
So we've seen a 70% bump in the price of petrol in the last 3 years.
And there's been successive 3 hikes now in the excise that the government has piled on. So petrol has just become, like cigarettes and alcohol, one of the old reliables. I mean, between the vehicle registration tax, the taxes on petrol, the tax on the car, the VAT, the motorist really is just being hit on every single front. I mean, what would the incentive be to buy a new car or to change your car now? It just beggars belief.
And given the, did I read this right over the weekend that 2013 number plates are going to be changed should you actually be in the market for a brand new car because of superstition?
Well, it's partly. I'm not a very superstitious person at all, so I think this is a bit of a codology, really, to be honest with you. But 2013, the 2013, there will be no 13 number plates next year. Mind you, there may be no new cars the way things are going. But the motor industry has been lobbying the government to change the number plate structure for next year because they are partly worried about people not wanting 13 on the reg plate.
Right.
But actually it's more to do with the fact that 70% of cars are sold in the first 4 months of the year, and they want to try and even that out, and they're making the not unreasonable argument that if you're going to buy a car, say in January or February, it was probably manufactured the year before. Whereas if you're going to buy it in November, it was probably made that year. So in fact, if you buy a 2013 car, you're actually getting a newer car later on in the year.
But so what is this? Do you know?
So now the suggestion seems to be that the plates will now have 13-1, so 131 followed by your county thing, or 132, designating whether it was the first half or the second half of the year.
So if I understand this correctly, the motor trade industry concerned about possible superstitions on the part of the buyer want to, not that they themselves are superstitious, but they're kind of going, look, we want to sell as many cars as we possibly can, so we're going to cut out of the equation the possibility that people aren't going to buy a car this year based on superstition.
Well, yeah, but I think it's probably more to do with the fact that they've been lobbying for a different number plate system for a very long time, and I think 13 has the added impact of, people being a bit kind of nervous about having it on their plate. I mean, of course, lots of hotel rooms around the world, of course, don't have a number 13 or a 13th floor. So,
absolutely.
They're only following in the footsteps of
Now, Sinead, as someone who has never bought a new car ever in my life, I've always bought second-hand cars.
Me neither. I know, I always buy second-hand.
Not because I'd love to buy a new car, I just can't afford it. But let's say if you were to buy a new car, like the various ways to finance the purchasing of it.
Yeah, well, there's 2 main ways to finance the purchase of a car. And one is a bank loan from whoever you bank with, and the other is a hire purchase loan from your garage. And most of the motor dealers are hooked up with finance companies that will offer those deals. Now, and very often they're the same banks that you would have got your personal loan with. The key difference is in the rates you'll be charged. If you go for a personal loan with your bank, you'll be charged anything from about 8 to 16% for a personal loan. That will be over 3 or 5 years. With a hire purchase loan, it'll be 0 to 6%. Zero Renault currently have a deal for 0% finance at the moment.
For how long? For the first year?
For the whole term.
For the entire term of the loan?
Absolutely. So it looks like a no-brainer, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
By saying like that, that's
go HP every time.
Except the way a HP loan is structured is entirely different to the way a personal loan is structured. And hire, the H is the key word here. Because in fact what happens is the garage sells the car to a motor finance house who then rents it to you for the duration of the term.
So if you miss a loan,
if you miss a payment, first of all, the car isn't yours.
Yeah.
You're hiring it for the term, and it doesn't become yours until the very, very last payment is made. Now, what that means is that if you miss a payment, say you lose your job or something happens, they can and will seek to repossess it, leaving you without a car and possibly owing the balance of the loan as well, just at a time when maybe you need your car most to attend interviews or whatever. Personal loan with the bank, it's not that they won't pursue you for the debt, of course they will, but they have no right to come out and collect the car and take it away. So from that point of view, you'd have to be careful with hire purchase that you're actually going to be able to make the repayments, that they're affordable. Some of them have these very, very low payments at the beginning and then this giant big balloon payment at the end. And by the time you get to that stage, the balloon payment can be worth less than the value of the car. The payment can be more than what the car is worth.
And is there generally with HP agreements, is that, let's say for example you get a bumper month that you want to say, look, I'm going to make 2 payments this month, that they don't let you, they won't can penalise you for that as well.
Well, they won't let you pay it off early, whereas a personal loan with the bank, you can generally go in and say, look, I want to redeem this early, I have a bit of cash or whatever, and they let you do that, or indeed restructure the payments over a longer or shorter period. Hire purchase is a fixed arrangement and quite inflexible, so it might look and is attractive in terms of the interest rate you'll pay, but the restrictions are a lot heavier. Now, there is one interesting thing in consumer rights. Now, this will be buried deep within the contract of the hire purchase loan, which you should really read, and it's called the half rule. Now, this is really important for anybody taking out a hire purchase loan, and it means that if you get to the stage where you've paid off half the loan, the capital and the interest payments and whatever fees that they charge you up front, you can actually, if you get into financial difficulty, return the car and you're not liable for the rest of the loan.
Right.
Now, this is really, really crucial because banks, the HP people won't generally tell you about this for obvious reasons, but
absolutely.
They will seek to get the balance off you if you don't know about it. So if they get you to voluntarily surrender the car, if you get into financial difficulty, they will go after you.
Rather than you waiting to miss a payment.
Yes.
So if it comes from you, if the action comes from you.
If it comes from you, and as long as you put it in writing and you say, I want to give back the car under the half rule, then you won't owe the balance. Now, you won't have your car either, but
still, you won't be pursued for the rest of it.
It's really important.
Thanks very much, Sinead. Now, Sinead's notes will be up online this afternoon. All you have to do is log on to the Tom Dunn webpage on newstalk.ie.